Hey, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Hades. So Hades is a game that was released in September of 2020. It's actually been an early release since 2018, and it's the story of a guy named Zagreus, who's the son of Hades, and his goal is to escape Hades and get to the surface of Greece to find his long-lost mom. The story is very simple in its setup and execution, and I really did appreciate that. And to kind of further explain more of the story, I actually got to kind of touch on how the gameplay is set up and how the game runs. So we're going to kind of transition into the gameplay for a second and then jump back to the story. So the gameplay of Hades is a hack and slash randomized dungeon crawler, and it starts with you in Hades and you have to work your way up through the different levels, going through randomized rooms full of enemies and bosses and different things like that. And you collect semi-permanent upgrades called boons, which are given to you by the gods of Olympus. And as you collect more boons, your strength increases, but every time you die you get sent back to the beginning and lose all your semi-permanent upgrades. Then you can use your currencies that you collect to permanently upgrade your character to make future runs more successful. Okay, so that's a really good summary of the gameplay. So now that gives us a better way to talk about the story. So the story is presented in between the runs. Every time you die, you get sent back to the House of Hades. In the House of Hades, there's tons of NPC characters to talk to and unveil more of the story. And certain events happen that transpire and unfold more of the story and give motivation to Zagreus' intentions and his motivations. And it's just really presented in a cool way that doesn't really kill the gameplay, because it's a very trial and error type gameplay. There's a bunch of great inner monologue and dialogue between Zagreus and this narrator that's narrating the story, and it's just cool to see more of Zagreus' character, and they do a great job of building him. For the gameplay that this game had, it does a great job of building its characters, the world, and the story. In between runs, as you're walking around the House of Hades, you come across tons of mythical creatures and characters from the Greek mythology, and it's cool chatting with them as they're cool cartoony personalizations of what you know from the Greek mythology. And it's just fun to chat with them and see what they're all about and how they interact with Zagreus and things like that. One of my favorites was Medusa. She's just this floating head who's got like a duster who flies around and cleans the House of Hades, but she's got a huge crush on Zagreus and gets super nervous every time he shows up. And it's cool as you're going through these runs because you get a little bit of story as you're playing the game. Mostly when you pick up the boons from the gods of Olympus, you get a chat with the god and you can interact with them a little bit and have a conversation between Zagreus and the god and kind of their relationship with Zagreus. Even though they've never met him, they know of him and just things like that. And it's cool just getting to know these gods a little bit more, and they're like, same thing like the NPCs, they're just fun characterizations of themselves, and the writing is super cheeky and funny and just interesting. It's really neat storytelling. It was great interacting with all these characters. It just really paces the game very well. It makes it so the space between runs isn't super boring. You have a laugh and build the story and characters a little bit more, and I really appreciated that, as it just made it so that you didn't die and then just immediately want to start over again. It just gave you some time to kind of just relax and just have some fun and a few laughs, and it just tied into the story and the gameplay. It just all fit really well, and it was executed properly. Some of my favorite characters he comes across are hidden throughout the dungeons, and you meet these characters who are kind of slaves to Hades, and he interacts with them, and you can see that Zagreus is actually a pretty awesome dude, and that he's got this cool moral compass that's completely opposite of his father, and just gives more motivation to his actions, and also just shows how cool of a character he is and what his personality is all about, and that he's not a total loser or douchebag. He's not an entitled high and mighty god. He's a person. He just wants to be a person and be nice to everyone, and I thought that was cool. As for the story, I thought it was all done really well. I really appreciated what it did, as it didn't really need a big story, but it did a great job of making a story there and using the gameplay as a great vessel for the story, giving motivations to the character and building Zagreus up as a character, and I really rooted for him, and it was awesome. I really did appreciate this game's story. So for the gameplay, I kind of already talked about the basics, but now I want to talk about what I liked about it, because I really did enjoy the gameplay of Hades, and it did one of my favorite things in video games. It gives you a sense of progression. This helps me keep wanting to come back for more. I'd unlock a new weapon or a new permanent upgrade, or just do something that would make me want to go back in and try another run to try out this new thing that I obtained. And it was great, as it just really felt progressive and interesting, and it didn't ever really feel grindy. Well, it easily could feel grindy. For me, I felt like it just felt progressive, and that each run was a good step forward, and it never felt unproductive. Each run I learned something new, I tried something different, and it just felt all very constructive in the long run. One thing that was really cool is this game really sticks with you. Even when I wasn't playing, I was always trying to think of new strategies or different ways I could approach different situations, what new weapons or combinations of upgrades I could try, and it was just cool how I was consistently always thinking about this game no matter what. I really loved the randomized dungeons, and it was great when you come to a room and there's multiple exits, and it shows you, like, if you go this way, this is what you're gonna get, or if you go this way, that's what you're gonna get if you go this way. And it was just cool because it gives you a little bit of choice of like, what do I want? Do I want more points to help with permanent upgrades, or do I want to go get a semi-permanent upgrade that would help me in this dungeon now, and it's just cool as you can kind of make those choices on your own, and it'll benefit you in some way, shape, or form, whether if it benefits you now or later. Decisions like that were absolutely very difficult, but really fun to make those choices, as it just felt very player-oriented. You control a lot of the pacing of how this game plays. You can choose the pacing of the battles, you can choose the pacing of your decisions, and how everything plays out. I thought that was great, as it feels a lot of like in your hands, and when you make a mistake, it's really your fault for not even thinking ahead or thinking too much in the moment. It was just cool how it just benefits you in so many different ways, but can also be punishing. A lot of this plays into the boons and semi-permanent upgrades you pick up from these gods. I loved defeating a room and having a god pop up and you get a cool little conversation, and then you choose between one of 3 upgrades to take with you. And it's cool as each different upgrade is very different from each other, and you can choose them and experiment with them, and each run you can try a new one and just see which ones you like best. And I thought that was awesome, as it let the player choose how you want to play Zagreus each run. With all this randomization and player choice, it does feel a little unfair at times, because it's so randomized that it's hard to tell when you fail a run, was it my fault or was it the lack of awesome randomization? You can get some really good runs where you just get the right boons and you get the right rooms that you come across in the boss fights, and just it feels really random, and sometimes it just was like, I feel like that time I lost because the game just didn't help me out, or you get a really successful run and it's like, wow, that was great because the game really helped me out. And I really wish it was like some balance where it really felt like you were the one making it better instead of the game just helping you out randomly, because the randomization was just right. It just felt kind of really weirdly unfair at times, especially when you have like a really perfect run where everything goes right and you get to the final boss but then die in some stupid way, and then you get sent back to the beginning, and it just is like such a crawl to get back to that point just because you didn't get the right boons, or just the way that the rooms popped up just didn't work out as well as it did that one time that you got to the final boss, and it just feels weirdly out of your control at times. This is to say that this is a very minor inconvenience and more just a tad frustrating than anything, and it does not ruin this game by any means. It just makes it feel more like you got a lot further in the game by luck more so than skill, because this game does feel very player oriented. It feels like it should be more skill based more so than luck based, and I feel like most times it feels more luck based than skill. Beyond the awesome story and the really rad gameplay, I definitely gotta say the art and music of this game is fantastic. I really love the art style of this game, as it's very cartoony but still dark and kind of evil looking with the Hades theme, and I thought everything fit very well, especially the sound. The sound design is incredible. I loved the effects, and then the music is awesome. It totally reminds me of some retro Doom where it's a little chill in between fights, but then just really hits heavy when you get into those brutal fights. The character designs are phenomenal. I really enjoyed looking at these characters, and in the dialogue sections I just loved looking at the art, as it's just so detailed and so cool, and it fits their character and personality very well. My favorite is Sharon the Boat Keeper. He's just got this cool skeletal figure with his darkness, and it's just super spooky, but it looks awesome. So in the end, I really enjoyed my time with Hades, and the nice thing is it's not over. This game lets you keep going after the story is over, and I thought it was perfect, as it just is fun to keep trying even more and do different combinations and just really experiment with the gameplay. I thought it was perfect and just so much fun. I loved how they presented the story, as it was a really awesome story with really good characters, and it presents very well between the gameplay. The gameplay is awesome. While not always my favorite with the more luck than skill based style, I thought it was awesome exploring Hades and just coming across different challenges and trying new things, and it just felt very experimental and progressive, and I thought that was awesome. Then the art and music just adds so much to everything else, and it just makes it such a really phenomenal game. I think this is definitely one of the better games of 2020, and it's only 20 bucks on Steam or Switch, and I absolutely recommend you pick this game up, as it's just so much fun, and it's such a really enjoyable game that I will keep coming back to over and over and over again, just because I had so much fun with it. I just thought they did such a phenomenal job. Supergiant absolutely deserves all the praise that they're getting for this game, and I highly recommend you play Hades. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to let me know what you thought about Hades down in the comments below, that would be awesome. And while you're down there, if you want to help me out and hit like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified every time I post a new video, that would be great. And if you want to see more of me, I'm over on Twitch at twitch.tv/GameFreeThoughts. I'm streaming there all the time, and I would love to see you there. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and don't forget that the key to success is succeeding, and we'll catch you guys next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.